Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name's Connor Chadwick.
And I'm Dominic G. Martin.
And on today's podcast, we'll be reflecting on the prologue to New Frontiers 1.
And then we'll be talking about the volume itself, New Frontiers 1.
Indeed. So, Dom, how have you been?
Yes, I've not been too bad. Just taking the days as they come, you know, as edit that, as all of us have been doing. So, yeah, how about yourself?
Likewise. Because it's like I was saying to you just now before we started recording, we didn't do a podcast in August at all, and I'm very glad for that because it's been a very busy month for me. Not audio-wise. This is the first bit of anything to do with audios or audio production that I've done in maybe just shy of a month.
Good Lord, you must have been being kept busy.
I am indeed, and I'm not enjoying it. I just want to make it clear. I'm not enjoying it. I would rather be writing scripts for stories that are due out next year, because I'm trying to plot out at the moment the big, 10 years of Overton Audios releases for next year, and I'm very much looking forward to doing all of that. But alas, we will get there eventually. It'll probably be another busy couple of weeks, and then we will get there. But fingers crossed, eh?
Fingers crossed. Here's hoping.
Indeed. Oh, God. I'm so rusty at doing all of this. I did also want to quickly add, because there's something I've forgotten to do in the intro, but thank you very much to our Patreons. Daniel Wild, Anya Coyle, Chelsea Lagan, and Delta Effects. I was going to do that in the intro, but that's how rusty I am right now. I've just completely forgotten to do the Patreon shout-outs. That's fine. That's fine.
Well, you remember them now. That's the main thing.
That is the main thing, I suppose. Remind me, Dom, have you ever hosted... I can't remember if you've ever hosted the podcast before.
No, I've never hosted the podcast. I've been interviewed on it, but I've never actually hosted this before. So this is the first time for me.
I am having a look, because this is podcast, I believe, podcast number 64. And your first ever podcast was the third podcast.
Yeah.
And that was where we talked about Remnants, actually.
Yes.
It's been oh my God, 2020.
Good Lord. Okay, yeah, that has been it's been a hot minute, hasn't it?
Yeah. And then you didn't appear in the podcast again for another 30 months.
Woo!
And that is when we discussed the Dwem 60th. That was when it got announced, and I believe it was yourself and Kenna who sat down to talk about it.
Yes, I believe it was.
Which is quite apt considering the releases we'll be talking about later.
Yes, indeed.
But I remember that, and then God, I'm just having a look at it all. You were in obviously the 60th special where we talked about the Dwem 60th again.
Yeah.
And then you were in Woodman Multiverse. I'm trying to figure out what we were talking about in that.
Oh, yeah, I can't exactly remember myself. What on earth were we talking about?
I don't know.
Would it have been something regarding one of the 60th anniversaries that we were celebrating?
Possibly, but according to I'm looking at the IMDb for it at the moment, it makes no reference to you in the description unless you appeared.
Oh.
Unless you appeared in because we used to do a segment in that particular year. We did a segment on the podcast called Big Finish Discussions. So unless you appeared for something like that to give clarity on something, I don't know. But then, of course, the last two appearances you've had on the podcast have been relating to Frontier. It's where obviously the prologue, which we'll be revisiting in a bit, and of course the Halloween special for Hide and Seek.
Yes, indeed.
That was
there has been a lot.
That was a very good one. I remember, like, the Hide and Seek was I think it was a very nice special episode.
I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, I remember like it all feeling so quintessentially Halloween.
Exactly.
I believe off the top of my head, we'd remastered the Irish Doctor Dracula two-parter, and then we'd done Alacrity with the Invisible Man, Frontier with Jekyll and Hyde, and then we did Cravat with Dorian Gray. I think it would be good to do an episode with Frontier and Dorian Gray.
Oh, that would have potential. That would be fun, I think.
Dorian Gray didn't die.
No.
He lived. He lived and went and met Oscar Wilde, and that's kind of the
Yeah.
idea of how the book got born and everything like that. And Oscar Wilde, of course, was a cameo from James York, who was in the first Doctor Adventures.
Oh my
It was
goodness,
all like,
yeah.
I think it was one of the one times that we've actually had because there's something I was talking to Michael Cox about quite a while ago, and I'm probably rambling now, but a lot of the villains and characters that he has the first Doctor meet in the range that we do
Yeah.
never seem to cross over with any other Doctors. It seems to
No,
be
it does seem to be in
exclusive.
a bubble of its own.
Yeah, which is why I found it was such a magical moment to have James York reprise the role of Oscar Wilde in a Cravat Doctor story. I thought that was quite fun, really.
Yeah.
But no, at some point we should try and because Dorian Gray lives, and I have some other ideas of what to do with him.
Ah.
Which
It's all going round in the brain, is it?
oh yeah, very much so, very much so. But yes, indeed. So speaking of previous podcast appearances, shall we have a little reflection on the prologue?
Yes, indeed we shall.
Indeed, indeed.
Overton Audios presents.
I'm not used to peace. If this is how my new life begins, then I guess I shouldn't complain.
You are hereby formally accused of first-degree murder.
I don't know how to tell you this, but I had nothing to do with it.
I just can't believe this.
Welcome aboard the TARDIS. My ship, my home. What you saw was real. That was your crime.
But the employees, my colleagues, my friends, they deserve respect.
Is this really what you've come here to say? Some big rant about fair treatment. I am your boss, fair and square, and if you do not like that, leave.
What a shame. We were just getting acquainted. You have no authority over me.
Says who?
I do.
Doctor Who, New Frontiers 1, Cynthia. Coming the 17th of August 2024 at 12 p.m. And welcome back to the podcast, and I'm joined here by Dominic G. Martin.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing okay, more or less, you know. I think I'm getting a little bit of a cold as the temperature has just very suddenly shifted, so it is what it is. I've been on the, well, I'll say the cold medicine, shall we say. I won't give any brands here. We'll go by BBC rules.
Indeed, indeed. But something monumentous has happened.
Ah, yes. Something has indeed happened, hasn't it?
Yes, the Frontier Doctor Prologue episode.
At last,
Yes.
It is out. The first solo adventure.
Indeed, it is a postal generation story, as we've announced before, but just for clarity for anyone who isn't aware, Frontier comes after the Alacrity Doctor. So TARDIS has landed, out steps Frontier in Alacrity's clothes, finds himself meeting a very nice person called Cynthia, and then basically collapsing in front of them and needing a lot of care for what they've been through, which has been undisclosed, because even Alacrity is only just starting at the same time. So we're not entirely sure 100% how that's happened. So we thought we'd talk about the prologue, but also, because it's the first episode of a new Doctor, I thought we'd talk about the process of how we slowly put this Doctor together. I think it's taken 2 years.
About that, yeah. I'd say from inception, or I would say definitely it's about 2 years. Quite some time anyway.
We've been talking for about 3 or 4 years about doing audios together and we were talking because I think there was a lot of fan art going around at the time, where they were putting yourself as the Purple Doctor into Overton Audio's art, because that was when we were in that universe. And we were talking about maybe one day. Obviously, we've split, and now that's given us an opportunity to completely design a new Doctor. I remember we were looking at colour schemes first.
Yes. Because obviously I wanted to do something very different about the whole ethos of the character is different to Purple. So what better way to demonstrate that by choosing a different color altogether? Of course, I went for more of a blue, a teal type this time.
Yes,
I thought that we agreed on.
I believe this was towards the end of 2022.
It was, wasn't it?
Yes.
I feel like that. It was well, fun fact for the the listeners here, but on the cover you'll see of the Frontier costume, that jacket was bought for me by Chadders himself, for which I'm very grateful. It was a lovely Christmas present.
It was Christmas, yes, Christmas 2022, and remember we took a couple of test photos, didn't we? You wore different variants of costume style. It'd be really interesting to show off those test photos one day.
Yeah,
but it's gone down an evolution because we weren't sure entirely what we were going to do with Frontier. We knew that we wanted them to be more calculated. Eventually, I think it was August last year, your hair had grown long enough for it to sort of be what's the word? Well, it was
ravey. It was
wavy.
When I watched it, it could do this real ravey episode 3 Anakin-esque sort of mullety thing, which I still quite like because it's very different. It felt very different. Like the thing with me is that I have a very distinctive visual appearance. So it's about just getting away from that as much as possible. So long beard, long hair, as in going down, no glasses, felt like a logical step.
Yes, and of course, it's also not just visual distinction, but also you can always see the Doctor by their kind of silhouette.
Yeah,
and we definitely needed it to be something where if you were to put any of the other Doctors you're playing together, you'd know who's who. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm making things as different as possible in every sense.
And I think that succeeded.
Yeah, I think it's succeeded. I think it's gone quite well. I'm quite proud of what we've done with Frontier from a visual standpoint, and I don't think there's really much chance of anybody confusing him and Purple. So
no, I think we ended up announcing Frontier obviously before the 60th went out, but I think we announced him August or September in the end, because do you remember the announcement trailer for the 60th went out around this time last year, as of this time last year, as in when we were currently recording this. It was a visual trailer made by Daniel Patton. But obviously in that you also appear. So I think we announced it there as well as Alacrity, and I think Elusive got announced shortly after. But I think it was received well. A lot of people were very excited about the prospect.
Yeah, I like to think it was. And, I mean, it's always a risk, but rise to the occasion, see what happens.
Exactly, and it was. I think what helped definitely again was its distinctiveness, because it was something new, it was something fresh. It wasn't necessarily what people may have seen before.
No, it's not necessarily what people expect of us.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't give off the vibe of any other Doctors that you've played. But no, when it came to writing the prologue, you've written the prologue.
Yeah,
we were going back and forth on some ideas for a while, and then how did you arrive at the story of Xynthia?
The story of Xynthia. I mean, one of my favorite genres is cyberpunk, and I've been having around the time I was writing that, was definitely in a bit of a cyberpunky kick, and that has definitely like seeped into how I am treating the Frontier era in general. And Zymphia, it was very much it's certainly trying to think, how did I go about it? Because I think it was mainly the companion aspect that really drove me to that story. Because the idea of a doctor just being born and then immediately suffering a tragedy.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool because of how different it could be, just setting a doctor up with effectively giving him a canon event right out the gate.
Yeah, and I suppose plus, as well as that, we had to look at what plans there were for the Alacrity Doctor, who, of course, is only just starting at the same time, and what kind of doctor he is. And obviously, it's in the name, Alacrity. Yeah. It screams a sort of a happier vibe, and we definitely wanted to go down somewhere. We want to go down a route where the Doctor's not necessarily got a dark path, but is changed by the paths ahead of him.
Yeah.
I always find it quite, when editing Zinthia and listening to it back, you kind of knowing what the ending was. You listen back to those scenes where he has still kind of got a bit of a dry humour, kind of stillness about him, but there's the ability to smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of, like a warm smile. There were scenes that, even though he's sort of speaking a bit dryly to people, you feel his warmth still. And then by the end of the episode, obviously, for those who haven't listened to it, it's been out now for nearly a month as of recording anyway. So by the time this is out, there'll have been a month and a half. Please do go and watch it. But we are talking about spoilers ahead. At the end, I like the twist because with the companion also doubling as the villain.
Yeah.
I like the way that Frontier kind of had an idea. And when I'm re-listening to it back, knowing that Frontier knew, when you listen back to it, there are certain things that you're doing with the performance. When Cynthia's saying, "Oh no, I just wanted to see if you were all right," it becomes almost obvious that it's her. But that's what I like about it, is the fact that you watch it or listen to it the first time, and you could play that off as kindness, because she has been kind throughout the story. But yeah,
that's one of the key factors about the whole drama of it all. I liked doing a story like that. I like doing a sort of a listen twice story, in which you can grasp all these new bits of information on the second playthrough, and you have a different experience knowing the twist. I love
things like that, though, where you watch or listen back and you hear something new.
Yeah, it's a factor of one of my favorite shows, Inside Number 9, the show that inspired me to do Remnants. And I just love the idea of plot twists that make you have to rewatch to get the full enjoyment. So this was kind of my idea of doing that, and of course the whole tragedy element as well, really feeding into both Zymphia and the Frontier Doctor's development. For that, I was kind of inspired by the tale of video game fans will get this, but Maria Robotnik in the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Because she was a tragic character. She was gunned down at an early age in front of her protector, Shadow the Hedgehog, and that incident stuck with him for the rest of it, for his life. It became his driving factor, as it were. As with Zymphia, it was very much inspired by that, but I wanted to take that in a route that gave more credence to Zynthia's character, in the way that her death was almost of her own design, by complete happenstance.
And this is something I think I talked about with you during the edit as well, regarding the relationship between the Frontier Doctor and Cynthia. There were times where it kind of walked the line between being more than a friendship.
Yeah,
Like I don't know if that was intentional, but the way that it's performed by both you and the other voice actress, Abby Grace, it comes across like two people who've kind of got butterflies for one another. You know,
that's the thing. I mean, a Frontier straight out of the gate, it gives sort of a sign of how it could have been, because he's very much got a little bit of a zest for life. He's a bit cantankerous, a little bit grumpy, but overall he's just like, we'll just get on with it, and he's going out to date. He in the back of his mind can concede on his subconscious level a date, but is really just trying to get to know someone that he's now very intrigued with. Who he has noted is going through a bit of a rough patch, and he wants to try and put a smile on their day.
Yeah.
And in that sense, he can be seen as being a little flirty, maybe. But that is quickly done away with.
Oh, yeah.
And that side of the character probably won't show up again through the impact that this has had on him. But you never know. You never know who he's going to meet. But yeah, it definitely informs the performance, because you're going at it like, as you say, butterflies. So you're just been like, yes. Whereas nowadays, after the fact, it would be like, ooh, no nonsense there. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose it's also a case of you don't necessarily have to view it as romantic, but the characters get along well, and in a way, no matter how the audience member specifically takes it, it will become something in their mind, and also maybe add a bit of personal touch to it.
Yeah.
Either way, the ending is devastating. But I did also want to ask, because the father and son duo in this, the Merrydays.
Yeah.
Chief Merryday, played by Jimmy Wolfe, and Julian Merryday, played by Asa Holmes. I think they both did a very, very good job.
Brilliant job.
Do you remember some of Asa's ad-libbing?
I know, though. I really fit, though. Really fit.
Yeah, so for those who maybe haven't listened to it, and I do not mind spoilers, it's very evident that there is an imbalance on this ship between humans and catkind, who are being made purely to serve and are talked down to, not just on a sort of social class level, but also for their appearance. There's a lot of undertones in there for, say, certain elements of history, and elements that are still in some cases prevalent today. The reason, of course, we mention this is also because when Asa did his recording, about half of the, or is it not half, maybe a good quarter of the insults that he said in the episode were never written.
No. Yes, I was both horrified and delighted at Asa's contributions to the script.
There were some times we had to cut, though, weren't there? There was a lot of, I think he understood, what's that saying? Is that an old meme anymore? I don't know. What he understood the assignment.
Yes, that is it. You are correct.
I think the one that really took me aback the most was the comment about the eyes. Yeah, it was...
I remember that. Oh, that was just...
Describing cat eyes as your... creepy snake eyes, which really screams that, like, that parallel one-to-one metaphor that you were aiming for, having, especially even though the character is a cat kind, using those type of metaphors and comparisons to animal lookalikes anyway really makes it really sit home very quickly. And it was something that I think was handled really, really well in your script and was performed really well by the actors as well. It was a really good story into looking into the future at how those things are affected. Because obviously, it's one of, I don't want to get too political with it. We'll end up in like a massive discussion. But it's an interesting one to look at how it's gone from like in this scenario, it's not human beings fighting with each other. It's a bit about species, which is a really interesting one as well. It just makes you think a lot, and I think that's always what good Doctor Who should do. That's why I don't necessarily agree with what people say when they say it's too political. I think Doctor Who is the perfect show when going into the past and future to challenge ideas, both of the past with a present day lens, and simultaneously look at the future to see how we must continue to do good in order to preserve good values for the future. So
precisely,
it's what I really like about Who. I always think about that famous Third Doctor clip when they go, "I'm protecting my country. This is all for my country," and then the Third Doctor goes, "But not for the world."
Yeah,
it's all about king and country, and not necessarily about everyone. And I always enjoy those moments. And I think 3 was his era, was the one which really introduced it because it became more earthbound.
Absolutely.
But in the end, what happens is Cynthia gets a funeral. Frontier goes off into his TARDIS and then tries to find some familiarity and some comfort.
Yeah, just tries to cool himself off after the experience he's just had. There's been a very dour note to end on for his first day, effectively.
Indeed. And am I right in saying it takes place over a few days, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes place because obviously you've got the held in a cell, but you start off. He loses his 15-hour invincibility shield very early on into the script, basically, because he goes into the spa and they take care of him for a bit. Then he gets his new clothes, and then he goes on the little date with Cynthia, and then he gets arrested at night. That goes into the morning segment. So it's about 2 or 3 days.
I enjoyed the way that he wasn't quick to leave, though. I did really enjoy that. It was a nice kind of fresh element that he wasn't near the TARDIS really at all this episode.
No.
He just parked the TARDIS and then just stayed on that facility, which is what almost makes it just as heartbreaking for the ending, because he was staying for her.
Yeah.
And then that happened, and it's sad because she ends up doing something that's probably happened to him 100 times across his many lives, and it sadly just goes, "Oh, you're one of those people then who just..." Yeah. It is just sad.
It is just a story. It is just a tragedy at the end of it all. It's a tragedy that started off with such promise. It was making him look forward to the potential of this new life, only to very cruelly rip it away right in the middle, effectively.
Yeah.
And then just stamp on it repeatedly and beat it into the ground by the end.
Indeed. But yes, was there anything else you wanted to talk about with regards to the prologue, Dom?
I think there's just... I'm very proud of it. There's a lot of factors in there, and everyone put in a spectacular performance that I'm really proud of. For like being the first script, it's always daunting doing the first episode of a new Doctor, because it takes me back to when I did the first draft of How Time Flies with Luke Newman, and it's all about just, oh my God, are people going to like this? Are people going to? What are they going to think? And then you have to think about the performance and how are they going to come across? How's your Doctor going to come across? I mean, yeah, when it came to doing Purple, I was like, this is more of an extension of myself, but I'm really going to just see what works. When it came to Frontier, I'm very experienced with Purple now and know him like the back of my hand. So it's like, you got to reset. You got to do something completely new. And since why I've just gone for the much more measured, calculated, deeper voice, everything is just trying to make him as distinct as we were saying earlier. And I think, as well as that, with the characterization, I think he is going to be a very interesting character to perform and also write for, and I'm looking forward to continuing on with that journey. And I'm just glad to have one under my belt, and that it went pretty well, I like to think. And I'm just very grateful for everyone who listened.
Indeed, I concur. Well, thank you very much then, Dom, and I shall return to myself and Sweet Daniel hosting the podcast.
Oakley dokley. Bye-bye.
And welcome back to the podcast, and I am here still with Dominic G. Martin. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
And we are going to be reading some comments, of course. We've recently, before Frontier and Glimpses of Gallifrey 2 even, we had the remake of Tortured World at War, which has come out under the Tortured Solo banner. And this was a remaster. Well, the first episode was a remaster / remake of the original. The script largely stayed the same, but has new cast members filling new roles for the context of it now being Prism as opposed to linked to previous shared universes. I shall begin with episode 1, Arrival. And this first comment is by Just MMS, who says, I remembered the original version of this story back in the day. I always felt like there was more that could have been expanded upon. I think I love this version better, just because it's more time to spend with the characters and more time in this time period and location, which is what I think I want from these. Which is always good. It was part of the reason I wanted to expand them. Originally, I was treating the originals as pilot episodes for the concepts of tortured eras, but now I've just decided remaking them as volumes as opposed to one-offs. It was the perfect opportunity to do so and continue them from there. Then we have a comment from Yuan the Blue, who says, it took me a bit to catch on to what has really happened, but wow, great story. Yeah, this is the thing as well, because when the original World at War came out, it had been about a year and a half since the events of the original, like the story it led in from. So now we're 4 years on. And the scenes we were remaking, to put into context, on the opening scene is from is a remake of a scene from about 10 minutes before Julia Breslin died.
I see.
So it's like almost 6 years ago that audio came out that we're remaking. And then lastly, we've got a comment from Dr. Rudy Vivas, who says, it seemed important to listen again to the whole of the original 2021 Tortured Knife trilogy before giving attention to this latest release. I won't do a scene-by-scene review, as after scene 1, the script largely follows closely to the original, so it all remains for me to say of what I said of the original, which is excellent, much more first-class drama. That is, of course, Michael Cox, beloved Michael Cox, plays out.
Good old Michael.
Indeed, indeed. So then we go on to episode 2, which is Lord Give Me Courage, which is arguably the first proper new story in this World at War story. We have a comment from Just MMS, who says, another gripping tale, this time in the trenches themselves. I'd say this story definitely benefits from being given the time it's told to make everything very enthralling. And then we have a comment from Dr. Rudy Vivas, Michael Cox, saying, an interesting take on the Sons of Ares. I like the retrospectives that punctuate the main story, building up a picture for us of the relationship between Johnny and his former comrade in arms, Colin. This is skillfully juxtaposed with Johnny's somewhat strange relationship with Matt and how that changes over the course of the episode. Spoiler, it was very, very clever to use the trench song as a thread that binds the past and the present together and be the means of the plot resolution. Great work. Thank you very much, as always, Michael. And that was all the comments for episode 2.
I guess it's time to move on to episode 3.
Indeed.
Sheltered. Oh, I know. I do love the cover art. It's got a very elderly-looking summoner, very distinguished.
Yes, very distinguished gentleman. Look at the way he's sitting.
Indeed. Yes, I see. I love that cat. Right. So, to start off, Neil Kendrick 4976 says, well acted, well produced, and well worth a listen. And it's always nice to see comments like that because,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
it always makes things feel like they're worth it.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Redivivus, he says the base under siege framework always makes for powerful drama, as the pressure of confinement slowly but surely reveals character. This traumatic experience really helps to strengthen the friendship between Matt and Ivanov, while exploring the prejudice and paranoia that existed at the time in certain quarters.
Oh, yeah. I
I
like that.
like that, yes.
Yes, indeed.
Very, very good. Very, very astute. Love
Mm,
to see it. Always does do such lovely comments. I
he does.
really,
He really
enjoy it.
does. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Just MMS says, "Yep, this is one of the greats. I think you would have to have done this story at some point, but I never expected it to be this good. Spoilers. Everybody mostly knows that this was influenced by Midnight, but I'll raise you one further. Listen again, and you might find this to be a take on an expected cause at the same time. Can you confirm or deny?"
Oh, well, in the next comment you read, it will be confirmed by me anyway. But like,
Oh,
no, I took a lot of inspiration from Midnight because I was trying to take along the contemporary nature of how the world is at the moment, with especially in America,
yeah.
and apply it to a German national during World War One. And I just thought
Yeah.
there's a balance to find familiarity in the stupidity of racism.
You're not
So
wrong about that.
a lot of what the character's saying here, I try to show how they get to the stupid, like the kind of paranoid conclusion about somebody just because they have an accent.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good shout.
Yeah, so they're in this shelter and Ivanov's not saying a word because he understands. Like he knows what will happen. And there's all these people
Yeah.
going, these damn Jerrys, and all this sort of stuff. And he's there not saying a word. And then there are some people who don't judge him because he's in there with them. And they understand that, he would be out there with them if he was with them. But there
Yeah.
were some people there who were like, why would he be in here? He's gathering information. He's a spy. He's going to take us down from the inside. And that is very much language that we hear nowadays, especially on social media.
He is
Yeah, so
very
I
well.
wanted to make something very contemporary that was in a very close-knit set that I almost thought to myself, I'll make this as an audio, but if I ever one day wanted to make it as a theatre play, then I could. So it's all in one location, in one shelter, apart from some scenes on the street when they have to run in and then when they leave. Other than
Yeah.
that, it's all in one location. And I was very surprised it got to half an hour long. Because
Oh God.
there's nobody walking. There's no we have to go over here and do this and do that. It is just one conversation that's broken up into 3 acts that also takes place over a few hours in their perspectives. So I did have to look at Midnight for that because you have to look at the characters in that and how they turn on the Doctor because you can't understand it, but then you see their paranoia grow because that is what people do. And then I had to try and turn it into something contemporary, like something that wasn't contemporary, but make it kind of contextually make sense for the time that they were in.
Yeah.
And I just thought the best use of that is paranoia. Where, he's
Yeah.
like,
Excellent stuff.
yeah, even though Ivanov is sat there quietly because he wants to protect himself, people who don't like him because of who he is will see that as a threat still, no matter what, even though he's just trying to pass by. Because he's quiet and doesn't announce himself, therefore he's doing something. And it's just it's the stupid paranoia of that. People coming to conclusions based on their narrow-mindedness.
It is a very relevant topic that is still like today, and like it will be persisting into the future the way things are going.
But yeah, I also took reference from, did you watch the Civil War movie last year?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you should. It should. It's basically what if it's basically almost taking the American Civil War to the present day. It's the North and the South Americas at war. And it's about these journalists, these war journalists, you know how they always get the photography in the war zones. It's them. It's about them. And they are from the north going into the south and they are trying to get out and trying to get back to the White House. But they can't because well, everyone's like, you're from the north and we're southern, and north isn't American enough than us. You've got to watch it. You've got to watch it, and you that was before everything that's happened this year. That was made before everything that's happened this year, and you could
So
watch it. And genuinely, I'm not trying to divert the comments reading here, but you could watch Civil War and think, yeah, that's happening right now in America.
yeah.
I think it was a documentary.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Oh, when you put it, yeah, yeah. There's a
highly,
lot of things going badly.
yeah, I highly recommend it. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry, carry.
That's all right. A little bit of a tangent. That's fine. Right. So back to the comments.
Ewan.
What? Ewan the Blue. I'll say that so you can edit. Ewan the Blue. That was tense and kept me on the edge of my seat. Upon finishing, I sat back and realized it reminded me of an episode in the Tenant era where the Doctor was alone and nearly died due to paranoia and the fear of the other passengers. Yeah, I mean, already pretty much established that. And you responded to that,
I
saying,
did.
yeah, the episode you read out your own comment. Why am I?
Oh, I said, hi there. The episode you're thinking of is Midnight, and yes, I took inspiration from that story. I loved how that original story took the main character's plot armor and turned it on its head. I'd also looked at a lot of contemporary arguments made across the internet regarding online conspiracies and the fear of the other, of which I put into the story. I thought this story would feel easier having some of the language used by the antagonists be the same as what we hear today. The situations that some people or groups go through nowadays really is a problem, and that remains timeless and can almost always be placed into any time period and still fit within that setting. But I'm glad that you enjoyed the episode too. I really am proud of this one.
Yeah, I think you summed it up really.
Yeah,
All right then.
indeed.
Now we move on to episode 4,
Yay!
which is Acts of Hate.
It's a
Very
follow.
serious.
It's a follow up to that story.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, well, Ewan the Blue is back again, and he says the threads of the prior story come back and with a vengeance, including a new twist I did not see coming. Very good. You have
Indeed.
managed to blow their minds. And Just MMS says an excellent volume comes to Just MMS says an excellent volume comes to a close with this rather personal take that I think did the best it could with the characters it is with. If only I wasn't spoiled by a meme. What?
Oh dear.
Oh no. Oh dear. Oh dear. Anyway, Dr. Redivivus says, a more tense drama for the torture team. The antagonist really exploits the prejudice and hate of ordinary people to devastating effect. Matt and Johnny's friendship is developing nicely as they demonstrate trust in each other. It's always good to end on a cliffhanger, and I'm intrigued to discover what comes next. Reggie seems to be a good addition to the cast.
So for context, the characters who were in the bunker or shelter, they come back and kill Ivanov.
Ah.
And,
Oh God.
yeah, he'd been sneaking out during air raids to go and help people who couldn't seek the help at the time, and they exploit that generosity from him and call him to a place, and then they just it's quite horrifying. I wrote what they did to him is quite horrifying.
Yeah.
They shot him in the chest twice
Oh, lovely.
and then stabbed him until he was dead.
Oh, joyful.
I know, but it was a follow-up to what can, like, you have what people think and say, and then this part as a loose two-parter, as a loose second part, I suppose, or sequel, is what people who will act on what they say will do.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not like you don't see it in the news, especially nowadays.
This is true.
Yeah, it's. I wrote this a while ago, and then when it came out, it was at I mean, it still is technically the prime of everything happening. It's all going crazy at the moment, as it is anyway. But
It's
like,
all insane.
it became so much more topical when it came out. I was really nervous that it was going to come across as insensitive. Because I didn't want it to. I didn't want it to be like, because it's obviously there are massive things happening to, like, awful things happening to people who don't deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah, of
And
course.
then I've made a Torchwood episode about it set in World War One, and I was like, there was a certain way that people could take that. Me turning it into a Doctor Who story. You know,
Yeah, there's always a fine line with these sorts of things.
yeah. But Torchwood, I think, is always a very special lens.
Mm.
It sets it within the world of Doctor Who, and something that James Sutton said quite well, which is it takes shows you the world in the lens of Doctor Who, but takes the real world and shows, look, it's not as pretty as it looks.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always enjoyed about Torchwood, and I think Sutton was right about
Mm.
how Torchwood is treated and how Torchwood treats the Whoniverse in that realm.
Mm.
It is a bit frightening, isn't it?
It's definitely a bit terrifying.
Yes. But yes, that's all the comments reading, isn't it?
Lovely. Yes.
Oh my word. So,
Nice comments.
shall we go and
Kind
talk?
comments.
Yes, indeed, indeed. Shall we go and talk about the first Frontier volume?
Yes. Yes, we should.
Overton Audios presents.
Well, Miss Fletcher, I'm pretty sure that I have everything I need from you. I won't sugarcoat it, but you could die. People have. And while it never gets easier, that is the danger of the job. And there's no shame in saying no.
Trust me, Captain Ward. I want to help you make a difference. Let me be part of this and I'll show you what I can do. Oh god, no!
Crap!
Ari! Ari! No, I love you.
Search and rescue mission, eh?
Precisely.
Can't help you.
Eloise, remember that name. She is lost in time, and I have it on good authority that is your speciality.
It's like New York, but steampunk.
It could all come down in one wee moment.
So much for indestructible.
They will feel the ultimate might of Odera's empire.
All these people, all those lives, destroyed so quickly.
Are you thinking that this space station isn't holding a viewing at all?
It seems suspicious.
I don't go looking for trouble. Sometimes trouble just finds me.
Ari was always afraid to push the boundaries, to embrace what was possible.
Alistair would be beyond disappointed in you. Now get out of my sight.
The Doctor, the high and mighty alien telling us what to do.
Doctor Who, The Frontier Doctor Adventures. New Frontiers 1. Coming the 16th of August 2025 at 12 p.m.
And welcome back to the podcast. And we're going to talk about the first volume of The Frontier Doctor. Obviously, earlier we've already talked about in a previous flashback recording about the prologue. But we're going to talk about the first volume, episodes 1 to 5. When did we start working on this, Don? We started working on it quite soon after the 60th, didn't we?
Yeah, sometime in late 23, early 24.
Yes, because we went through a lot of iterations, because I know we probably talked about it in Frontier, but I'd love to one day be able to show the early photos and concepts we have for Frontier.
Yeah.
Do you remember how he's completely different?
Yeah, he's completely evolved since the first sort of imaginings that we had of how the outfit would be, how he would look.
I remember that. That was December 2022. We took photos in my kitchen.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. We'd just eaten dinner, so we hadn't washed up the plates yet. I remember them in the back.
No,
going, oh
they
God!
were just, yeah. Oh, it's a little bit of a state, but it's fine.
Because I bought the suit blazer for you as like a Christmas present.
Yeah,
I think it's a very nice blazer, isn't it?
It's a very nice blazer.
It's quite because I remember when we looked at it on the online before ordering it, we very much liked the pattern of it. And it didn't feel like just like a straight sewn jacket. It had like bevels to it. It had its own kind of rigidity to it that almost Frontier has at times. When did we decide on the second coat? That was something
Second
you
coat,
added
yeah,
in,
that
wasn't
came
it?
a bit later, yeah, because I felt he'd give him a variant.
Yeah, and I will say this: you do now have the coat but when the cover arts for Volume 1 got made, you didn't. And that coat was expertly put on you by Isaac
He
Blake.
did very well.
Yeah, the lighting on that coat, I'm like, and obviously since then I know you've done some Instagram posts wearing it. So I don't know how many people will actually know that that wasn't a real coat on you in the cover. They might think it's actually the real thing, but obviously recolored for Frontier's color palette, which was teal.
Yeah.
I wonder how, like, I think back to those covers. There's been a lot of good reception to those covers, the ones made by Summer Visuals and Isaac Blake, who's credited as Motion Idea Films. There's been a lot of positive reactions to those covers. People saying it's got a quality to it that meets almost the Big Finish quality.
They've been very well received. They look good. They look very good, and I'm very, very happy with them. They've got such beautiful artistry to them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I also like the logo as well. We went through a couple of logo variants, didn't we, back in the day?
Yeah.
Because I remember we'd been kind of, I mean, I know that we'd been talking about making a volume together of a Doctor, whichever Doctor it may have been, since about January 2021. I think it might have I can't remember who it was. I can't remember if it was actually Isaac or somebody else. Do you remember they made a cover art with a Dalek eye looking at you? And it was called something like A Million Deaths or something like that.
I remember that, yeah.
And I just sent that, and that because obviously back then we were part of another shared universe. It was all under the same umbrella. It said Overton Audios on it. It had everything. We were like, and I sent that to you. And went, come on, we've got to try and make this at some point. But so we've been building up to this volume coming out now for about 4 years, whichever form it took. I think it's taken its best form now. We've been able to do things with this iteration of the Doctor that I don't think we would have done beforehand if we'd done it a different way. This Doctor is a lot darker. He's no nonsense.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
He doesn't suffer fools.
No, he is a significantly more grumpy, darker character, and that's by design. I think, well, as we've discussed many times, because obviously I play the Purple Doctor as well for DW 2012. If I was going to do another Doctor, he'd have to be the total opposite. He'd have to be completely different. And I think Frontier fits that bill very, very nicely because Purple is obviously a bit more of a charismatic, a bit more out there, a bit more hyper, he's more charming, whereas Frontier is like he's not charming. He's a bit more miserable because of the stuff that he's been through in a short space of time. He's still trying to keep on top of the stresses.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I think it's a very interesting take for the character. And I really like exploring this different edge to what the Doctor can be.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know we talked about it when we talked about the prologue that got made last summer. But obviously since then we've done a Halloween episode where I believe her name was Alice. He met at a bar in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And it's not that she dies, she just is terrified of him and runs away. And that's almost heartbreaking in itself because she will remember him as this scary person.
Yeah.
And then of course we come to episode 1, and obviously, as we've heard, by the time this podcast comes out, the whole volume will have been out. He meets another friend, doesn't get close to Eloise at first.
No,
which I always found quite interesting because I always listen back to the episodes as a viewer when they come out, and the Doctor purposefully kind of keeps distance from Eloise, but can't help but be intrigued.
No, that's the thing with Eloise. It becomes more of a this is what she represents in a way, because obviously are we talking spoilers?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we're talking cool. Because when she dies,
it's like that flips a switch in his head, and this is the third person that he's kind of failed
Yeah,
in space in a
and
short space of time.
purposefully tried to not get close to her to avoid that, and it's happened anyway.
Yeah, it's just gone. It's just she just died, and he couldn't stop it. But now he sees that as an opportunity to be able to stop it by just like bringing her back in a sense, uh, as this sort of like third time's a charm sort of thing to rectify the mistakes that he believes that he has made.
Mm.
Because obviously, as you say, with Zymphia, she ended up dead. In Hide Seek, obviously, that one's scared of him. But with Eloise, this is the first one that he believes he has a chance to actually make good
Mm.
in his own slightly demented way, because it's not really making good. So Eloise is still dead,
Yeah.
but now she's got a clone, effectively. This is a second chance for a new life who believes that she is the original Eloise.
Well,
And
this is what I found interesting. The more I've obviously, as we're recording this, part one of Enhanced has come out today.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is that what I had to re-listen to Charmer the Third today as well.
Mm.
Ari, even though he's in like I believe it was like his 40th generation over the course of 1,000 years,
Yeah.
he could still remember everything. So I always think back to the Ship of Theseus uh, debate. Do you know the Ship of Theseus debate?
Yes, yes. When you replace various parts of a ship, is it still the same ship?
Yeah, but then of course you take the original rotting wood, you treat it, you fix it, and you rebuild it exactly as it was. Is that
Mm.
now the ship, or was the original ship that you took it from now the ship with it replaced? It's an interesting one because technically, when you look into it, even though yes, the original Eloise died, this new one remembers everything about Eloise's life, but with an altered memory.
Mm.
Like so, it's almost like it is Eloise, but only being allowed to be Eloise so much
Yeah. Yeah,
because
exactly.
she has a completely different concept. And this is what's kind of frightening about it. Her first two adventures with the Frontier Doctor don't happen as she remembers now.
No, absolutely not. They both have distorted endings.
For her, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going to be really fun to explore one day, if it ever
Yeah.
does. Because
Mm.
let's face it, everything comes out eventually. Secrets, they never stay buried.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for
So
her,
you never know.
yeah, for her, in her mind, she just fell unconscious twice.
Yeah.
Little,
There's a blank space.
no, exactly. She doesn't even know that she saved the day in both, in both times. Sacrificed her life to save Fraser Ward,
And then
and then to an extent, no, she didn't so much sacrifice herself. She put
but
herself
she
in
tapped
harm's
into her
way.
potential.
Yeah, she put herself in harm's way, to save the day.
Yeah.
Also got shot in the face as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that brings me on to the whole Fraser and Frontier dynamic.
Oh
I've seen
God, yeah.
a lot of people have been enjoying the dynamic there because,
Mm.
and this is probably my own self reflection here coming out. Fraser and the Doctor have always gotten along so well.
Yeah. Exactly.
They've famously got along, but I feel like the reason why the Cravat Doctor, for example, and Fraser get along so well is because not only is that Fraser's first Doctor that he met, but also when he met that Doctor, he was still such a rookie in comparison.
Now
So
he's a seasoned veteran.
exactly, but by the time we pick up with Fraser Ward in the 2020s, the Tortured Institute is now set up. He is now Director Fraser Ward, as much as people prefer the Captain
Mm.
title for him. He is now well equipped to deal with anything all by himself.
Yeah.
And yet the Doctor still comes in and takes charge, and he's like, "No, no, no, I know what I'm doing now." But
Yeah.
I think what also helps is that it's a different one. It's a different Doctor.
Mm.
Um, I feel like if it were Cravat, he'd be a little bit more forgiving.
Yes, but because it's this new one who he's not quite familiar with,
And it's not
and
even
it's
like,
already,
yeah, it's not even
yeah,
like Frontier's polite to him to begin with anyway.
no,
It's
he's still a bit of a dick.
yeah, he just comes in and goes, "Oh, what, you want me to save one of your, like, what, rookies or whatever?" No, sorry.
Yeah, it ends up having to almost threaten him at this point. Just be like, you have a responsibility. Come on, you will help me save her.
Yeah. How many times is Frontier thrown into a wall or a door by
It's got to
Fraser?
be like 2 or 3 times at this point.
Yeah, there was when he arrives, Fraser
Three
pushes him
times,
into
I
the
think.
TARDIS
Yeah.
doors. Yeah, then when Fraser's like, "Hey, Doctor, can I have a word?" And then I think Eloise leaves the TARDIS, and then he immediately just slaps him
Yeah.
into a wall. I think it's gonna happen at least one more time. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it happened in Space Station Zero, and hasn't happened in Enhanced Part 1. I think it might happen in Part 2 eventually.
Yeah,
And
I
just go,
think
what are
so.
you
Yeah.
like? Are you what are you doing? It's
Doing
frustrating.
is strange. Yeah.
But
It's
it also sets up a lot of interesting thoughts because we've seen Fraser interact with the Cravat Doctor in 2024, which of course is weird.
Mm.
I say that like it's the future. It was the future when I wrote it, but like it's Fraser Ward interacting with the Cravat Doctor a couple of years after meeting Frontier.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's an interesting one to deal with.
Yeah.
But also like Fraser's like extremely depressed in 2020. He's
Yeah.
in 2020, big things happened to him.
It's not, yeah, it's not fun. He doesn't have a fun time.
No, he doesn't, not at
He
all.
makes the best that he can with it, and he handles it like like a trooper.
He does, he does. The poor man. But
I know.
there was a current theme throughout this particular volume, which I know we discussed at the time, and well, obviously we'd have had to, but it was technology.
Yeah.
Every story is set in either it's set in something where it's set in a time where the forefront of the story is the technology available to them. So even though they go to it's Opal, isn't it? The planet. I should
I
know
believe
that.
so, yes.
We both, I think so. But like, even though that's got a more sort of steampunk element, it still stands as the forefront of the story because of its difference to us.
Mm.
And then of course we go to the present day, which is with Enhanced Parts 1 and 2,
Hmm.
and we take a real hard look at AI and how it works. And of course, spoilers. I know that by the time this comes out, it's only been a couple of days since the finale, but Votan is the big bad. Now, that wasn't actually the original plan, was it?
No.
We Charm of the Third, you'd written, I think, months before any of the other scripts. You always knew how it was going to start.
Yeah, yeah. And you always knew that was the story I wanted to tell for the beginning of Frontier's
Mm.
journey. And then we worked on the rest of it. I mean, yeah, episode 2 takes some time getting together.
Well, yeah, I
Um,
mean, didn't that take you like 3 days of emergency writing?
yes, we did have a writer for it, but unfortunately they had to pull out, and of course deadline was was coming up very rapidly. So I was like, oh God, oh! So I just took some notes from you and just quickly just scribbled out something vaguely resembling a script, and it turned out people liked it, and I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
okay.
We
I'm
always
very lucky
we
about
always had
that.
a core concept for it though. We always I know the King, it was originally based off of a 2010 script I'd written or partially written
Mm,
um when I was 15 years old. It was called The King's Son, and
yeah.
it was I believe it was to do with it was the King's Son was much more of a main character, but it
Mm,
was about him no longer, I can't remember the exact detail. I just know he had been taken from the capital or the kingdom, and that was the initial thing we ran with. But it obviously got renamed to King's Bargain, which is a much better title. I think, like you were saying earlier to me before we recorded, with it with it not being political, I do sort of I can sort of think of some political elements that are referenced,
mm.
but I almost don't think that they are like topically political. I think there were some things that everyone's always felt. It's to do with because you wrote Prince Rison as not liking the hierarchy of power over the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that could be the element that's seen as political. But I'd also
Yeah, it's true.
think that I would argue that's not necessarily political, but I can see why people would. But I sort of see it as an even distribution, really.
Yeah. That's
But
a way to put it.
yeah. Then we go to the year 10,300 with Space Station Zero. And Space Station Zero is a fun one because this isn't the first time we've seen Space Station Zero.
No.
Space
Showed
Station
up in one of
Zero,
your adventures.
it did, well, Parallel Doctor, it's still technically
Parallels, yeah.
played by me, but a parallel
Mm.
version of the Cravat Doctor who was briefly a part of this universe before being murdered. It's a whole thing. And in that, the Space Station Zero was where the Parallel Doctor and Julia Bresnan first met in the fourth ever audio drama I made.
Oh.
But this script was a script I'd written about 10 years ago as an audio drama as well, and we adapted it as best. Well, I adapted it as best as possible to meet the requirements for Frontier's character, and then you've gone through and tweaked bits of what Frontier would say.
Yeah.
Because it was still very early days. I think the order that we wrote it in goes 1, 3, 4, 5, 2.
Yes, I think that's correct, yeah.
Space Station Zero was always one that we knew was on the list, so all it needed was
Mm.
some script editing and some tweaking, and then it was there. Then we wrote, then we sat there and thought, what do we do for the finale? Who's the villain? And then I remember seeing on Twitter somewhere a shot from the war machines of Dodo having just been taken under Votan's control. And I sat there and thought, we're doing a volume about technology. Because initially I was trying to think whether or not the Great Intelligence would be a good shout.
Yeah, that was that. I
But
think
I think
Votan was the right call.
yeah, because we looked at. I remember we had a brief chat about the Great Intelligence, and we thought, how does that fit exactly? Because the Great
Mm.
Intelligence wasn't always a computer, as we saw in Bells of St. John,
No.
and we also know that he lived on past Bells of St. John much further into the future. But we didn't necessarily want to interfere with that story and where it led to, you know?
Mm.
So Votan was a nice way of going to the first AI that was shown on Doctor Who. A nice kind of callback in that regard. And of course we had the magnificent Matthew Chambers doing the Votan voice.
Oh,
Who
yes, he did such a good job.
Oh yeah, yeah. I tried to. I bet people had guessed it, but in part one, I didn't credit him as Votan until the Doctor actually announces him. He was just credited as the computer, but I'm like, that voice is so iconic. If you didn't get
Mm.
it, fair enough. But I was sat there re-listening to it today when it came out, thinking, "Oh, it's so obvious here. It's
Yeah.
so obvious that it's Votan." But again, that's probably just me. But no, I'm really proud of how the volume has come out as a whole. We had a few bumps along the way, but that's always kind of part of the journey, isn't it? It's come out now. It's been
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed by those who we know personally and also within the fandom on our like Discord circles and everything like that. And
Mm.
that's really nice, especially like I know we had a lot of tight deadlines for this, but we made it, and it's been really really nice to see people's reactions to it. And I think, I'm glad that because there's always a slight danger, isn't there, with making a
Yeah.
doctor with a doctor who doesn't have a lot of warmth to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the actual show has tried that a couple of times, and it always began with like mixed reception. Like, obviously, poor Colin,
Yeah, Colin was
got
the kind of the first try, and it
yeah, and it
no.
didn't land right. I do love Colin, but it didn't
Mm,
land right with the general audiences.
no.
And then Capaldi, they tried it with Capaldi, and they had a lot more success, but still, there were definitely audience members that were very off put fighting compared to, say, the charisma and warmth of David and Matt, especially just beforehand.
Yeah. I think they found the right balance with 12 in series 10.
Yeah,
Because he had the nice warmth of a grandfather, or just the warmth of of a man with both wisdom and knowledge. But
yeah,
then
precisely.
but then in those cold moments he could turn.
Yeah,
And I think that's but so
done.
don't get me wrong, the series 8 version of the 12th Doctor is actually still my favorite because he's such
Mm,
a harsh contrast to Matt. I think
yeah,
it really shows. And I always like to see doctors as the fallout of their previous lives.
yeah, no, definitely.
Considering how the 11th Doctor went out after 900 years of fighting, to be to then have the fallout of that be what we had with the 12th Doctor in Series 8 made perfect sense. And then
Absolutely.
he was able to heal over the course of Series 8, and then he sort of entered sort of free flow state with Series 9 and 10.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely he found a real rhythm there, and
Yeah.
it definitely showed. And I'm glad that the character was allowed to progress that way, as opposed to poor Colin, who got cut off basically.
Well, I remember them saying in an interview, Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant saying that by the time they were filming Trial of a Time Lord, not many people were really bothered by what they did, as long as they said the lines. So
Yeah,
there was that scene, when they're walking through the woods with the umbrella, and when he goes, "There's no sign of intelligent life here," and then the Sixth Doctor says, "Apart from me, you mean?" And he says it with a kind of cheeky grin. In the script, he was meant to say it with a lot harshly,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they decided, look, why don't we do it with a bit more warmth? I'm tired of being angry at you all the time. So they played it like old friends, and that's how you got the progression of Colin healing. Or Colin, Sixth Doctor. I don't know. I always end up calling the doctors by their or surnames.
Yeah,
But
no, exactly. That's obviously it's a good shorthand way of
yeah,
of just clarifying who you're talking about.
but even Big Finish pay reference to it every now and again. Like
Yeah.
the recent stories they've done, called Bad Terms.
Mm.
They reference it, and where Perry says, "Remember, Doctor, when you were having that bad time?" And
Yeah.
it is almost kind of reflective of a bit of PTSD for the Doctor, because the way the Fifth Doctor went was not kind.
No.
He really, really suffered. And same thing with the 11th Doctor as well. And 6 and 12 are products of the way the previous life went.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely just results of that.
Yeah. I mean,
And
of course,
yeah.
you see that with with 13 going into 14.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, he's tired.
Mm. And that's the thing. I always like to look at that with regards to Frontier, because sometimes it's worth remembering that the Doctor directly before Frontier is Alacrity.
Mm.
And Alacrity, even when you don't look at when you look at the meaning of what alacrity is, it's happiness, it's
Yeah,
contentment.
yeah.
Um,
So-
and you see that a little bit in the beginning of the prologue with Frontier. You don't, the harshness isn't there yet.
No.
He's got a bit of a dry humor about him, but he's not sad. He's not grumpy. I remember those scenes when we talked about it. Those scenes with Cynthia when they sat down and talked. He was really happy.
He was almost flirty at points.
Yeah, and then everything happened, and now he's just like, no,
And and that side of him has just been cut off.
yeah, exactly. It's just been severed in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and I always really try to think of the fallout of one Doctor into another. It's always very important to make sure there's a continuity with the character in that regard.
Mm.
And it's why it's such a great harsh contrast in that regard, like you were saying about the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor, having that harsh contrast between Alacrity and Frontier.
Mm.
It
For
really
real.
it really shows, but in a really positive way of really getting across how important the events that happened to Frontier in his early days were on creating the man he is.
Exactly. And I think it's really strong in that regard. Well, I hope it comes across as strong, but uh, it's definitely something which I feel has a lot going for it in terms of that structure. And when Alacrity does eventually leave, I would be very interested to see the manner of it.
Oh yes, this is true. This is true. I can't remember if there are ideas or not. Can't remember. I have to try and remind myself. I'm sure there is a plan. I don't
I
know.
hope there's a plan.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Right. Yes, but overall, I think the volume in the way it's come out has come out very, very well, and we are planning at the moment the second volume.
Yeah.
Which I'm very much looking forward to seeing how our ideas for that come together. We've got some good ideas already, and
Yeah.
and yeah, indeed. So
It has potential.
it does indeed. It does indeed. Shall we return to the podcast then, my friend?
Indeed, we shall.
And welcome back to the podcast. And I am here with Dominic G. Martin.
Hello.
We are going to very quickly look at the coming soon. So, here it is.
Overton Audios presents.
I've got to get away. For the Nexus. No! Dead end!
You're right, mate.
What?
Oh, you're right. Just take your time. You came through some sort of a time portal.
Who are you?
I'm... Cade Redhill.
His wife in 1840 was called Florence.
This is more connected than we realise. It's my duty as a time agent to try and send you back to your native time.
Jenny, why?
A temporal anomaly appeared in the match factory.
This is the day I was sent down to the Dippers. Mr. Bryant.
Who are you?
Mom! Something terrible's happened in London town. We need to save the pitiful humans.
Things do not simply disappear, my love.
Stop!
And you, Henry. I know when you die.
We have an incursion occurring at Paternoster Square.
Stand down, Benjamin!
Never!
The Paternoster Gang. Future Outcomes 2. Coming 27th of September 2025 at 12 p.m.
I can be your emotional support.
What?
I saw this on a TikTok. I will be your emotional support.
And there you go. There was the trailer for Paternoster Gang Future Outcomes 2, which is a continuation of the story where the Paternoster Gang are thrown forwards in time from 1892 to 2021. From the trailer, you may have guessed that they are in the new year now. So we're now in January 2022. We have a new character who's shown up. He cameoed at the end of Volume 1. Cade Redhill, played by Isaac Blake. He is a character that we've been trying to build up for a while. He appeared in the Prism 60th. He is planned to appear in more things. But whilst we're trying to get those other things set up, I thought it would be very good and certainly important to get him appearing in more things so he stays in people's minds. So Cade is going to be appearing in the Paternoster Gang volume as a man also out of time, much like how the Paternoster Gang are, whilst they explore different aspects of their lives and also their adjustments to 21st century. For example, Dom, there's a funny bit where Strax is addicted to Netflix and TikTok.
What?
Yeah, because he's got nothing to do. Like he kept ordering food from Deliveroo because he liked watching them on the map move towards him and saw it as a strategy game.
Oh my god.
And now it was in the trailer, but he says to Jenny, they're about to go and revisit the match factory that Jenny worked in as a child. and he says, "I can be your emotional support." And she says, "Oh, what you on about?" And he goes, I've saw it on a TikTok. They have emotional support animals, but I will be your nurse. I will be your emotional support during this very trying time. And that's in the trailer, but there's a little bit later on when they're walking through and she gets nervous. And I wrote in Strax saying, "Miss Jenny, do not worry. Your emotions are valid." And
my God.
I can't even finish it. No, it's
Oh,
it was very funny because it was something that, Strax would latch onto that. He'd hear this.
Yeah, that's into those ways of speaking.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still writing in, because I am writing the 3rd volume at the moment. I'm still writing in elements where he is still paying reference to these things, and it is kind of surreal and strange.
Yeah, of course.
But of course, they do have to find their way back to their time at some point, and there are obviously I've got in mind the fact that I can't have them learn too much, but there is a plan for this. There is a big plan for how this is
Big
gonna
plan.
work.
Big
plan. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how everyone's reactions to the Paternoster Gang Volume 2 trailer and the volume as a whole goes. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because it's a lot more of a slapstick kind of story with the trio. They're not so serious. You're able to have a little bit more comedy in there, of which that's why I typically get Abby Louise in to help, because she writes her own version of the Paternoster Gang on TT Productions, and she's been doing that now for about 4 years. So she's very well versed in how they work. I think she's their #1 fan, if I'm honest.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, that's believable.
Yeah, it's in the same way that I say I'm the #1 fan of Class.
Yeah, of course.
I do adore Class, but nobody else did, unfortunately.
No.
It's a shame. Real shame. I do miss Class a lot, actually. I really wish they'd resolved it. Why?
I know. It's okay.
Yeah, so that's coming out next month, and there will be something secret coming out. If you're listening to this podcast on the day of the podcast release, then something very, very interesting is coming out tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next podcast. But for now, there is nothing more for myself and Dom to say but farewell.
Indeed. Farewell, everyone. A pleasure being on this. A pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And of course, we must thank the Patreons, Daniel Wild, Anya Coyle, Chelsea Lagan, and Delta Effects. Thank you very much, Dom, for making yourself available to co-host the podcast with me this month.
Naturally.
And, of course, thank you to everybody else for listening to the podcast. And, yes, we shall see you next time. Farewell.
Bye-bye.